3 years. That's how long I watched my neighbors harvest basket after basket of perfect Meyer lemons, while my tree sat there, mocking me. Same soil, same sun, same backyard. My tree? Gorgeous. Dark green canopy, branches spreading like an umbrella. Instagram-worthy, but not a single lemon, not even a flower bud. Then, one afternoon, a commercial citrus farmer, someone who manages 40 acres of Valencia oranges in California's Central Valley, told me something that made no sense. She said, "Stop feeding it, stop watering it, let it suffer." I thought she was joking, but 6 weeks later, my tree exploded with 47 flowers. Today, I'm harvesting lemons year-round. By the end of this video, you'll understand the biological triggers that force citrus trees to bloom, and you'll know exactly how to activate them. I'm going to show you 7 techniques, including 2 that use nothing but time and patience, and 1 ancient method involving willow bark that organic growers swear by. Welcome to Home Gardener. Let's decode your lemon tree. The biological truth: understanding citrus reproduction. Here's what most gardening videos won't tell you. Your lemon tree isn't broken. It's doing exactly what evolution designed it to do: survive. And survival doesn't require fruit. Reproduction does. Citrus trees, like all plants, exist in 2 modes: vegetative growth and reproductive growth. Vegetative growth builds the body: leaves, stems, roots, the infrastructure. Reproductive growth makes flowers and fruit. Your tree is stuck in vegetative mode because it's receiving the wrong signals. Think of it this way: if you lived in a mansion with unlimited food, perfect temperature, and no threats, would you feel urgent about having children? Probably not. You'd focus on enjoying life. Plants are the same. Abundance delays reproduction. But when resources become uncertain, when water becomes scarce, when nutrients shift, when light patterns change, the plant receives a biological alarm. Conditions might not stay this good. Reproduce now while you can. That alarm is controlled by plant hormones, specifically the balance between gibberellins, growth hormones, and cytokinins and ethylene, flowering hormones. When gibberellins dominate, your tree builds leaves. When the ratio shifts, flower buds form. So, how do we shift the balance? We manipulate the environment to trigger stress signals, controlled strategic stress, not enough to harm the tree, but enough to flip the switch from growth to reproduction. Now, here's where it gets interesting. There are 7 distinct ways to trigger this shift, and they work through different biological pathways. Some are nutritional, some are mechanical, some are environmental. I've ranked them by difficulty, from dead simple to moderately hands-on. But before I show you the techniques, you need to understand what's blocking your tree right now. Walk up to your tree. Look at the leaves. If they're dark green, almost blue-green, and the stems are thick and vigorous, you're looking at nitrogen toxicity. Nitrogen is element number 7 on the periodic table. It's the engine of chlorophyll synthesis. When nitrogen floods a plant's system, chlorophyll production goes into overdrive. The plant manufactures amino acids, builds proteins, drives cell division. Every gram of nitrogen becomes 15 to 20 new cells. It's a growth explosion. But here's the catch: nitrogen doesn't just feed growth, it actively suppresses flowering. High nitrogen levels elevate gibberellic acid, GA3, the primary vegetative growth hormone. GA3 inhibits the formation of floral initiation complexes at the meristematic tissue, the growing tips where flowers form. In citrus specifically, research from the University of California, Riverside shows that nitrogen levels above 3.0% in leaf tissue create what's called juvenility persistence. The tree behaves as if it's still young, even if it's mature enough to fruit. The carbon to nitrogen ratio is critical. When C to N drops below 12 to 1, the tree remains locked in vegetative mode. When it rises above 15 to 1, reproductive signaling activates. That's why reducing nitrogen is step 1. Blocker number 2, perpetual moisture availability. This one confuses people because it contradicts basic gardening advice.
but consistent watering is one of the most effective ways to prevent flowering. When soil moisture remains constant, the tree's roots never experience drought stress. The root system sends a continuous signal to the shoot apex: water is abundant, no need to rush reproduction. But when water becomes limited just for a short period, the plant responds. It shifts hormone production from growth hormones to flowering hormones. When soil moisture drops gradually, not catastrophically, the tree begins producing abscisic acid, ABA, a stress hormone. It closes stomata to conserve water, but it also does something else. It triggers the expression of flowering genes. In citrus specifically, research from the University of California, Riverside shows that nitrogen levels above 3.0% in leaf tissue create what's called juvenility persistence. The tree behaves as if it's still young, even if it's mature enough to fruit. Studies on Valencia oranges show that controlled water deficit, approximately 14 to 18 days, depending on temperature and humidity, produces the highest flower density. Too short? No effect. Too long, you risk permanent wilting point, where the tree suffers cellular damage. The sweet spot is when leaf water potential drops to -1.5 to -2.0 megapascals. At that point, the tree shifts from luxury consumption to conservation mode, and flowering hormones surge.
Blocker number 3. Light starvation of interior nodes. Flowering doesn't happen in the dark. It requires light energy and light signaling. Citrus trees flower on 1-year-old wood, branches that grew the previous season. But those branches need direct sunlight to differentiate flower buds. When the canopy becomes dense, the outer leaves shade the inner branches. Those shaded nodes receive less than 30% of full sun, and at that light intensity, flower bud formation essentially stops. The mechanism is photoreceptor-based. Phytochromes, light-sensing proteins, detect red and far-red wavelengths. Under full sun, the red to far red ratio is high, signaling optimal conditions. In shade, far red light predominates, which tells the plant, "You're under a canopy. Prioritize vertical growth to escape shade." That shade signal triggers apical dominance. The terminal bud at the tip of the branch grows aggressively, suppressing lateral bud development. Lateral buds are where flowers form. No light, no lateral buds. No lateral buds, no flowers. Additionally, shaded branches produce lower amounts of carbohydrates. Photosynthesis is diminished, which means less sugar available for the energy-intensive process of flower formation. A flower bud requires approximately 40% more metabolic energy than a leaf bud. So if your tree is a green ball with no internal light penetration, you're blocking 60 to 80% of your potential flowering sites. Now that you understand what's preventing flowering, let's talk about the fixes. These aren't random tips, they're targeted interventions based on plant physiology. The 7 flowering techniques. Technique number 1, strategic nutrient rebalancing. Difficulty, very easy. Timeline, 4 to 6 weeks. Cost, $12 to $20. This is the foundation. Stop all high nitrogen fertilizers immediately. No more 20-10-10, no more 30-15-15. Those first numbers, that's nitrogen percentage, are killing your flowering potential. Instead, switch to a bloom-specific citrus formula. Look for an NPK ratio of 5-10-10 or 4-12-12. That's low nitrogen, high phosphorus, high potassium. Here's why each matters. Phosphorus, P, activates ATP, the energy currency of cells. Flower formation requires massive ATP expenditure. Without adequate phosphorus, the tree can't generate enough energy to build flower structures. Phosphorus also supports root development, which improves nutrient uptake.
Potassium regulates over 60 enzymatic processes. It controls stomatal function, water use efficiency, and most importantly, sugar translocation. Potassium moves carbohydrates from leaves to developing flower buds. It also increases the plant's stress tolerance, making controlled drought more effective. Apply this fertilizer once per month during active growing season, March through October in most zones. Use half the label rate for container trees to avoid salt buildup. One additional trick, add Epsom salt to your regimen. Magnesium is the central atom in chlorophyll, but it also plays a role in phosphorus uptake. Dissolve 1 tablespoon per gallon of water and apply as a foliar spray monthly. This increases phosphorus bioavailability by approximately 20%.
Technique number 2. Controlled water stress protocol. Difficulty, easy. Requires monitoring. Timeline, 2 to 3 weeks. Cost, $0. This is the most powerful technique, and it costs nothing. Commercial citrus growers in California, Florida, and Spain use this on millions of trees. It's called deficit irrigation, or regulated deficit irrigation, RDI. Here's the protocol. Step 1. Stop watering completely. Mark the date on your calendar. Step 2. Monitor leaf turgor daily. You're watching for the first signs of wilt, a subtle downward angle to the leaves, a slight loss of rigidity. Not full wilt where leaves curl, just a noticeable droop. Step 3. Timing depends on your climate zone and container status. Zones 9 to 11, warm, dry climates, 12 to 14 days for in-ground trees, 10 to 12 days for containers. Zones 7 to 8, moderate climates, 15 to 17 days for in-ground trees, 12 to 14 days for containers. Zones 5 to 6, cooler climates, 18 to 21 days for in-ground trees, 14 to 16 days for containers. Indoor container trees, any zone, 14 days regardless, due to controlled environment. Step 4. When you see slight leaf droop, wait 1 more day, then deep water. Soak the soil thoroughly until water drains from the bottom of the pot or until the top 12 inches of soil are saturated for in-ground trees. This sudden transition from drought to abundance creates a hormonal surge. Abscisic acid, produced during stress, remains elevated while water availability spikes. This combination triggers massive flowering. Critical warning signs of excessive stress. Stop immediately and water if you see these. Leaf edges curling upward, forming a taco shape. Leaves color shifting from green to gray-green or bronze. Leaves falling from the tree, not normal yellowing, but green leaf drop. Branch tips turning brown or black. If you overstress, water immediately and provide light shade for 48 hours using 30% shade cloth or by moving container trees to a covered patio. The tree will recover within a week. Expected results: flower buds appear 3 to 4 weeks after the stress period. Peak bloom occurs 5 to 7 weeks after.
Technique number 3. Architectural light pruning. Difficulty, moderate. Timeline, ongoing, quarterly. Cost, $15 to $30 for pruners. This technique opens the canopy to maximize light penetration without triggering aggressive regrowth. The key is subtlety. We're adjusting, not hacking. What to remove? 1. Water sprouts. These are vigorous, vertical shoots that emerge from older wood, usually growing straight up from horizontal branches. They produce almost no flowers because they're in maximum vegetative mode. Cut them at the base, flush with the parent branch. 2. Crossing branches. When branches rub against each other, they create wounds that invite disease. Remove the weaker or less favorably positioned branch. 3. Interior congestion. Stand back and look into the center of the tree. If you can't see light coming through, it's too dense. Remove 15 to 25% of interior branches to create light shafts. Focus on branches growing toward the center rather than outward. Pruning timing matters. For maximum flowering response, prune during late winter, January to February in most zones, about 6 to 8 weeks before your typical last frost. This timing allows the tree to redirect energy into flower bud formation as spring approaches. After pruning, the remaining branches receive 40 to 60% more light. This increases photosynthate production, sugars, which provides the energy needed for flower formation. Additionally, removing the apical buds of water sprouts breaks apical dominance, allowing lateral buds to activate, and lateral buds produce flowers. Maintain this quarterly. 15 minutes every 3 months keeps the canopy open without shocking the tree. Technique number 4, branch manipulation, bending. Difficulty, moderate. Timeline, immediate effect. Cost, $5 to $10 for soft ties. This is an old orchardist's technique, used for centuries on apples and pears, but highly effective on citrus. The principle, vertical branches prioritize growth, horizontal branches prioritize flowering. When a branch grows vertically, auxins, growth hormones, flow from the tip downward via gravity. This creates strong apical dominance. The tip dominates, lateral buds stay dormant. But when you bend that branch to 45 to 60 degrees, you disrupt auxin flow. The hormone distributes more evenly along the branch, releasing lateral buds from dormancy. Here's how to do it. Step 1. Identify vigorous vertical shoots, usually 1 to 2-year-old branches that are flexible, not woody. Step 2. Gently bend the branch to approximately 50 to 60 degrees from vertical. Don't force it to 90 degrees. That's too much stress and can snap the branch. Step 3. Secure with soft plant ties, Velcro straps, or fabric strips. Never use wire. It cuts into the bark as the branch grows. Step 4. Anchor the tie to a lower branch, a stake, or a weight, like a small sandbag. Within 2 to 4 weeks, you'll see flower buds forming along the bent section. These are the lateral buds that were previously suppressed.
You don't need to bend every branch. Even bending 4 to 6 branches will trigger a noticeable increase in flowering. Once flower buds form, you can remove the ties. The branch will maintain its new angle. Bonus, this technique also improves fruit quality. Horizontal branches receive more sunlight, which increases sugar content in the fruit. Technique number 5, foliar micronutrient application. Difficulty, easy. Timeline, apply post-stress period. Cost, $15 to $25. This is a supplementary technique. Use it after water stress, not instead of it. 2 micronutrients dramatically improve flowering. Boron, B, critical for pollen tube formation and sugar transport. Boron deficiency causes flower abortion. The flowers form but drop before setting fruit. Apply at 0.5 to 1.0 ppm, or parts per million, as a foliar spray. Use boric acid or sodium borate. Mix 1/4 teaspoon per gallon of water. Zinc, Zn, is essential for auxin synthesis. Zinc deficiency creates small, misshapen leaves and poor flower development. Apply zinc sulfate at 0.5 to 1 ppm. Mix half a teaspoon per gallon. Application timing. Spray 2 to 3 days after the deep watering that follows your water stress period. The tree is in active growth mode, stomata are open, and nutrient uptake is maximized. Spray in early morning or late evening to avoid leaf burn. Cover both sides of leaves. Stomata are concentrated on the underside. Commercial products labeled Bloom Booster or Citrus Flowering Formula typically contain these micronutrients plus phosphorus. That's fine, but check the guaranteed analysis to ensure boron and zinc are included. Technique number 6, root zone phosphorus amendment. Difficulty, moderate. Timeline, 8 to 12 weeks. Cost, $20 to $35. This technique targets phosphorus availability, which is often locked up in alkaline soils,
pH above 7, or depleted in container media. Phosphorus is unique among macronutrients. It doesn't move through soil. It binds to calcium, iron, and aluminum, forming insoluble compounds. This is why adding more phosphorus fertilizer doesn't always help. The tree can't access it. The solution is rock phosphate or bone meal combined with mycorrhizal fungi. Rock phosphate contains colloidal phosphate or soft rock phosphate, which releases slowly over 3 to 5 years. It's less water-soluble than synthetic fertilizers, but that's actually beneficial. It provides steady, long-term phosphorus availability. Bone meal is faster-acting, 6 to 8 months, and also supplies calcium, which improves cell wall strength in flowers and fruit. Here's the protocol. Step 1. For in-ground trees, dig 4 to 6 holes around the drip line where the canopy edge is, 8 to 10 inches deep. Step 2. Mix 2 cups rock phosphate or bone meal with 1 tablespoon mycorrhizal inoculant. Step 3. Fill each hole with the mix, then backfill with soil.
For container trees, top dress with 1/4 cup rock phosphate per 5-gallon pot, worked into the top 2 inches of soil. The mycorrhizal fungi are key. These beneficial fungi colonize the roots and extend hyphal networks into the soil, essentially expanding the root system by 10 to 100 times. The hyphae secrete organic acids that dissolve bound phosphate, making it available to the tree. Results appear slowly. This isn't an instant fix, but 8 to 12 weeks after application, you'll notice darker green leaves from improved nutrient uptake, stronger stems, and increased flower bud formation. Technique number 7. Willow water rooting hormone, natural auxin source. Difficulty, easy to moderate. Timeline, 3 to 4 weeks. Cost, $0 if willow available. This is an ancient technique used by European gardeners for centuries, and it works through a surprising mechanism. Willow bark, Salix species, contains salicylic acid and indole butyric acid, IBA, a natural auxin, a plant hormone that stimulates root growth. But here's the interesting part. When applied to citrus, it also promotes flowering by improving root health, which increases nutrient uptake capacity. Healthier roots equals better phosphorus and potassium absorption equals more energy for flowering. How to make willow water? Step 1. Collect fresh willow branches. Any species works. Weeping willow, black willow, pussy willow. You need about 2 to 3 cups of chopped twigs. Step 2. Chop the twigs into 1 to 2 inch pieces. Younger growth, green, flexible branches contain higher hormone concentrations than old woody stems. Step 3. Place the chopped willow in a bucket and cover with boiling water. Use a 1 to 2 ratio, 1 part willow to 2 parts water. Step 4. Let it steep for 24 to 48 hours. The water will turn amber brown. Step 5. Strain out the willow pieces. The liquid is your willow water. Application, use it as a root drench. Dilute 1 to 1 with water, so your final ratio is 1 part willow to 4 parts water total. Pour 1 to 2 gallons around the root zone of in-ground trees or 1 quart per 5-gallon container. Apply monthly during the growing season. You'll see improved root development within 3 to 4 weeks, new white root tips visible near the soil surface. Better roots mean better flowering within 8 to 10 weeks. Knowledge section note. Research from the University of British Columbia shows that salicylic acid also activates systemic acquired resistance, SAR, a plant immune response, which makes your tree more disease-resistant while promoting flowering, a dual benefit.
The implementation strategy. Here's how to combine these techniques for maximum effect. You don't use all 7 simultaneously, you layer them strategically. Phase 1, foundation, months 1 to 2. Switch to low nitrogen fertilizer, technique number 1. Perform architectural pruning, technique number 3. Apply root zone phosphorus amendment, technique number 6. This establishes the nutritional and structural foundation. Your tree begins shifting from growth mode to reproduction mode. Phase 2,
Trigger, month 3. Execute controlled water stress protocol, technique number 2. Immediately after rewatering, apply foliar micronutrients, technique number 5. Bend 4 to 6 vertical branches, technique number 4. This creates the hormonal surge that triggers mass flowering. Phase 3, maintenance, months 4 plus. Continue low nitrogen fertilizer monthly, apply willow water monthly, technique number 7, maintain quarterly pruning schedule. Expected timeline: week 3 to 4, first flower buds visible; weeks 5 to 7, peak bloom; weeks 8 to 10, fruit set, small green lemons forming; month 6 to 9, fruit maturation and harvest. Climate-specific adjustments. For cold climates, zones 5 to 7, focus on container growing, move indoors during winter, and execute water stress in late winter, February, for spring flowering. For moderate climates, zones 8 to 9, execute water stress in early spring, March, or late summer, August, for fall flowering. For warm climates, zones 10 to 11, can execute water stress 2 to 3 times per year for multiple flushes, spring, summer, and fall. The transformation. Here's what happens next. Your neighbor walks by your yard in about 6 weeks. They stop. They stare at your lemon tree. They see what looks like snow covering the branches, dozens, maybe hundreds of white flowers, each one releasing that intoxicating citrus perfume. They'll ask, "What did you do? What fertilizer is that? Is it a new variety?" You'll smile and say, "I stopped fertilizing, and I barely watered it." They won't believe you. You'll think you're joking, until they see the lemons developing, dozens of green orbs swelling on branches that were bare last season. And that's when they'll ask for the details, because now you understand something most gardeners don't. Plants don't flower when they're comfortable. They flower when they feel urgency, when they sense that conditions might not stay perfect, when they receive the biological signal that it's time to reproduce before the window closes. You've learned to speak the language of plant hormones, to manipulate nitrogen ratios, water availability, light distribution, and oxygen flow. You're not gardening anymore. You're conducting plant physiology. And the results? They speak for themselves. Your next step. If you want to see this work, here's what I need from you. Comment below with 1. Your USDA hardiness zone. If you don't know it, just tell me your city. 2. Whether your tree is in-ground or container. 3. How long it's been since your tree produced fruit. I'll reply with the exact water stress timing for your situation and any climate-specific adjustments. And if this video helped you understand why your lemon tree wasn't flowering, hit subscribe. Next week, I'm releasing a follow-up, how to triple your lemon harvest using the fruit thinning technique, a counterintuitive method where removing 30% of immature fruit actually increases your total yield. This is Home Gardener. I'm here to help you decode your garden one plant at a time. Now go make your lemon tree bloom.